What was that feeling like, being a lifelong fan and then actually getting to experience it in real life?
So initially I was really excited, of course, once I got hired and stuff, but going into the first practices and the first games, super nervous because I know if you screw up, everyone sees it, and the coaches really aren't afraid to rip you. Even as a support staff, Coach Harbaugh got on me a couple times, so.
You are now tuning in to the Roughnecks podcast with your host, Cole Nixon. Much love.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Roughnecks podcast. We have a fun one today. It's going to be a little different because it's with the team that I'm not a fan of, but I'm not open to not open to conversations with this. But without further ado, Robby Montagnese, welcome to the Roughnecks podcast.
Yeah, cool. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate coming on. So yeah, I'm Robby. I'm a senior here at the University of Michigan, studying economics. I played football with Cole for a couple of years back at Watkins, so I've always had a passion for sports and football. Was blessed with the opportunity to get into being a student manager with the team. I was with them for the last couple of years, and I'll be there one more year next year in graduate school, doing that again. So I'm excited to see where that goes with the new Big Ten and all the new rules and stuff. But overall, excited to share some insight with the team in college football as a whole.
Yeah, it's because when did you graduate? You were part of what, Kyle Smith's class? Were you that class?
2020.
2020. God, I was about to graduate college in 2020. That's what's crazy. We only had what, 1 year, 2 years?
I think
I was
1
17,
year.
so I think it was 1 year.
1 year.
Were you Calavini's class?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, we would have had 1 year together. That was the year actually more freshmen actually got to see a little bit of the playing time. When on my senior year was that time, because we had a handful of seniors, but like we also just had people keep getting hurt.
Right.
Were you hurt freshman year too?
Not. I don't think it was like any season injury. I know I had the ACLs the rest of.
Yeah, because how many ACL surgeries did you have?
I had 3, sophomore through senior. So
that's what my girlfriend had, was 3. So yeah, I've never. Luckily, the only thing that ever happened to me was my elbow. So I never had much happen to me, luckily, but that I can't even imagine having to go through 3 ACLs.
Yeah, you get used to it. Was your girlfriend's in soccer or volleyball?
I don't know what sports she actually did hers in, but she was volleyball, basketball, and softball. And I want to say, I know one was basketball for sure, but I don't know. I want to say like at least 2 of them were basketball. Maybe one was softball actually, but I can't remember off. She talks about it, and I'm like, well, sure.
Yeah, but after all that happened, I kind of realized I wasn't able to play anywhere, even the small schools. So yeah, it was nice.
It's just not worth it almost at that point. Like if you go through that in high school, it comes a point where it's like it's almost bound to happen again. I feel like, so is it even worth risking? For another 4 years of football or whatever, any athletics, for a potential, an injury that could potentially hinder you in your future in general. So, but to kick off this episode, I got something for you.
All right.
Since you were the fantasy football loser, I was disappointed because I didn't even get the belt. My whole goal was I'm going to win this league, and then I'm going to have the belt right here on the table for the recordings and everything, and Evan Den won the belt, so he's got the belt. I still have not seen a picture of him with it, but you get the license plate that says fantasy football, I'm a loser, nice. And then the magnet that goes on the car that says, please be patient, I suck at fantasy football.
Beautiful.
You don't want to, if you stick at our league, I'll tell you don't want to lose next year, because me, Dante, and Reno have already been talking about punishments for next year.
A little worse.
And it's more than just something on your car. It might be a little painful or something. I don't know what we'll do yet. But we're also, it's not just going to be me, Dante, and Reno deciding. It's going to kind of be a collective as a group. So it'll be fun.
Yeah. I didn't do well in any of my leagues this year at all.
It was I started out really good and then went through a spell where I was like, I'm screwed. I didn't even think I was going to make playoffs at one point, and then ended up making it to the championship somehow. But my problem was
second in this league.
Huh?
You got second in this league.
Second, yeah. My problem was all my running backs ended up getting hurt, and Derrick Henry sucked half the year. Yep. So have much to work with, really.
Yeah, I was banking on Cooper Kupp coming back this year. That's how that kind of went down.
I feel like when you draft him, it's like either really good or really bad.
Right.
But I haven't played, like, this year's like the first year I really actually took it serious, because like I've always played in the leagues, like you just sign up on a random league and on ESPN. I've always played in that, and this year I'm like, I don't know, I got something going on this one, so I'm going to take it serious. Like every day I'm looking at like players and waiver wires and everything. Yeah. But kind of going into, the Michigan stuff. So obviously you had the ACLs and everything. So were you going to go, like, was that your plan when you went to Michigan? Is that what you wanted to do? Or did you just kind of decide, this is something that I want to kind of get into?
So initially coming to Michigan, I wanted to work with one of the sports teams. I initially reached out to someone with the baseball team because I really took an interest in baseball nearing the end of high school, as that was the only thing I could really play. But yeah, I just kind of got lucky in one of the business clubs I was in. I met a guy who happened to be a manager, went through some interviews and stuff, and ultimately got hired for that. Okay.
So you're obviously a Michigan fan, weren't you?
Yeah, lifelong Michigan fan. That's what I always wanted to go there.
So this has got to kind of almost make it, like, what was that feeling like, that first game day even, or like that first practice of being out there with the guys? And yeah, you're a part of the team, but not part of the team. Like, you are a part of the family there, but you're not, like, the one on the field actually doing the stuff, but you're doing different stuff, per se. What was that feeling like, being a lifelong fan and then actually getting to experience it in real life?
So initially I was really excited, of course, once I got hired and stuff, but going into the first practices and the first games, super nervous. Because I know if you screw up, everyone sees it, and the coaches really aren't afraid to rip you. Even as a support staff, Coach Harbaugh got on me a couple times. So, but yeah, I mean, I got through it, and I'm able to help some of the younger guys now as I'm starting to graduate.
So what Harbaugh get on you for?
So wasn't this last season, the season before, I was the ball spotter. So in between each play, I'd put the ball down on the yard line, whatever, hash, and there was a defensive offsides that I didn't hear. And so our center at the time, Olu, marched the ball up 5 yards, and he didn't like the fact that his center was the one moving the ball.
What's Harbaugh like? I mean, how much conversation do you actually have with him? Is it, fairly often, or is it more just you're kind of around him, per se?
Usually we're just around him. Like, most of the managers don't ever interact with him. But being the spotter, you kind of have to be next to him at all times, because where he says the ball is where the ball is.
Okay.
So I was around him a lot for that job, but the rest of the years wasn't really around him. You aren't really supposed to talk to him, so
just let him do his work.
Be. But he's a cool guy. He's pretty nice. And
is he?
What you see on social media is about what you get.
He seems goofy.
Yeah, a little bit.
He seems like a really good guy. I Scott's gonna hate me for this, because Caleb Scott, diehard Ohio State fan. He's not gonna like me saying good things about Michigan, but he seems like honestly a good guy. But he just seems goofy as can be sometimes.
Yeah, he's definitely like that.
What are practices like? Are they like I'm assuming they're super serious? Like, is it always like, I don't know, like for us in college, it was to the, like, every period was timed out, and like once you got from one, like, it was a dead sprint, like you had to get to the next one, and like it was right away.
Right. Yeah, that's about what it is. It's down to the second almost. And so our job for that is to plan in advance everyone's job, who's getting what pads, where they need to be for each period, setting them aside so it's ready, so we're not scrambling. Because they're going to be ready to go as soon as that whistle blows.
So what exactly, like, what all did you do at practice, per se? Like, what was essentially your role?
Yeah, so for my role, I was one of the wide receiver managers. So I was around wide receivers the most, and helped out Coach Bellamy a lot. So I would see him before practice. He'd sort of tell me what we were doing for the individual period. I'd get out the cones, the pads, all that stuff. And everyone has their position coach they go to before practice.
How many of you guys is there? Like, that's what's crazy too, is people don't realize, especially at the Division I level, how many people there are almost doing the behind the scenes work. And that's not including the people that are filming practice. Right. That there's a lot of stuff going on. So how many, like, people are on the field, and how many people do you guys have filming and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so for the field managers, there's around 15 to 20 of us, I think. And yeah, there's a separate like nutrition staff with those like students, the video kids, and then the equipment managers are different from us.
Okay.
And there's another 10, 20 of those guys. So there's a lot of us.
Yeah, is there one, or is there multiple of you guys per position group?
It sort of depends on the position group
Okay.
and like what's needed, the manpower for that. Like the defensive backs, I think there's 8 guys.
Oh, Lord.
Because Coach Klink really liked to do drills with tennis balls and all that fun stuff.
So they're almost dogs fetching tennis balls.
Yeah, they're running around. They get the biggest workout for the practice. For us, I was the only guy last year. I got two extra guys this year, so
Okay.
made it a little bit easier.
So what is the team itself like? You know, everybody sees on social media, they see all the back end stuff, but they're not actually there. What is the team environment like? You know, is the team, you know, I've heard stories, not of Michigan, but of other, you know, college teams where they're dicks to their equipment guys and everything. Like, how was the team environment for you? Obviously, you liked it because you're doing it multiple years. So what was it like, and just kind of like, how was the overall, you know, the vibe of the team and everything?
Right. So yeah, going into it, I was initially pretty nervous to approach anyone, but a lot of the players reached out to you and introduced themselves first. It was really cool to be able to interact with them, talk with them. But yeah, they're all super nice guys. All the coaches, staff, players, they're all really cool. So.
Yeah, I always did that. I don't know why. Like, anytime we get a like intern trainer, I'd always walk up to him and be like, "What's up?" And like just start talking to him. I got bored on the sideline waiting for the next drill or whatever. Like, if we're doing a team and, you know, second team's out there, so I'm just sitting there like, I'll go talk to him. And then like you come to find out some of these people, even you're used to like playing with these guys and that you play with and everything, but then like when you start actually talking to them, they're like, man, they're really cool too, and they have like some cool things about them. Like, a lot of them are athletes. It's just, you do have the people, like a lot of our trainers were athletes. They were just doing this in their off season, so that is it an internship or like a class credit? Like, how does it work for you in terms of schooling, or is this like a volunteer position completely?
So for me, this is a volunteer position because the school I'm in isn't like the sport management school.
Oh, okay.
But some of those people who do have that get some class credit as like an internship.
Okay.
So I'm sort of doing it as a volunteer.
It's still worth it.
Yeah,
It's gotta be.
it's cool.
I mean, when you're sending us videos live from the Rose Bowl in the group chat, it's like, well, that's kind of cool. Not many people get to say they got to experience that, especially at that stage. So that's definitely an experience. Just the whole on, like, that's something you'll be able to tell your kids about, and it'll just be like they probably won't believe you for a while, but and then they'll eventually figure it out.
Have to show them some videos.
Maybe not the video you sent us, but so, you know, kind of also take me through that game day feeling. So are you on the sidelines for the games and everything too?
Yep.
Home and away?
Home and away. It depends if you have a game day job or not as a manager.
Okay.
So my first year I didn't. Usually they save that for the vets.
Okay.
So I did. That's why I got to travel around this last year. So for the game day, depending if it's home or away, we usually have a walkthrough pregame, and that's home. I guess it's like 8 a.m. for noon games. For away games, we have a walkthrough Friday afternoon and then fly right after that. Go straight to the airport.
Must be nice. So we had to leave on. We either left Saturday morning on our bus, which most of our games were in Ohio, or we left Friday afternoon and stayed in a hotel on a bus. We never flew, but all of our games were either Indiana or in Ohio, or one in Pennsylvania. But I guess the year before I came in, they played in Texas, and they actually like flew and everything. And I was like, thank God. Like, if we had to drive to Texas on a bus, I'd lose my mind, because those buses are not that comfortable for that long.
Are they the charter buses that you guys get?
They're not bad, but when our freshman year, we had like the biggest class, and when you have to sit 2 to every seat and it's like crammed everywhere, like you can't even sleep because you're like stuck like this. And
Right.
There was a couple times that an offensive lineman sat with me, and I'm like, I'm never doing that again. Not happening, because I will sit with a DB or a receiver. Anybody small
Right.
can sit with me.
Yeah, I
But-
remember in high school we took a couple vans to Nashville for spring break to play a couple games, and I was the youngest one at that time, so everyone had their own seats in the van, and I was stuck laying in the little step that you have to get up because there wasn't enough room.
Oh, that's terrible. Oh, so what's that, feeling like the first time you got to go into, it is an iconic stadium, the Big House, and because obviously you guys don't practice in the Big House. That's where a lot of, I think, non-football fans are misconceived. Like, they don't practice on their game field, and like even in high school, when we had grass, we didn't practice on the game field. We practiced up on the practice field. But
Right.
once you have turf, it's a little easier. But you don't practice on your game field, and you have a practice field. But being in the Big House for a game, in front of if it's 100 and some thousand fans, what is that experience like, and like how loud can it be?
Yeah, the experience is honestly just surreal. It's nothing you could really ever imagine, and it never gets old. No matter how many games I've been doing it, it's always just as loud. It gets pretty loud in there. 110, 115,000
Mhm.
people. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty special.
Yeah.
I think.
It's what other stadiums would you say could maybe even compare to it? Because I mean, the Big House, like I said, the Big House is one of the best, like most iconic and best stadiums in college football. Like, is there any places that you played that you could maybe compare it to?
I think a good comparison is honestly Ohio State. I was there for the 22 game,
Okay.
and they were really loud for most of it. At the end, it kind of got out of their hands, but
Yeah.
I think Penn State this year was the loudest stadium I've ever heard in my life.
I've always heard that. I think Reno's played at Penn State too. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if he has played at Penn State. I think he's played Penn State, but I don't know if it was at Penn State. But I've talked to, I've had a couple people on the podcast that have played there, and they're like, it's nuts. Like you can't hear.
Yeah, you
anything.
can't hear anything.
Like, it is so loud. Like that's why everybody goes on a silent count, and that's what, like, everybody, like, you see the quarterbacks literally like yelling, and I forget. Maybe it was CJ Saunders that was talking about it. He's like, the quarterback they lose their voice at Penn State
Right.
because they're yelling so much and
Mhm.
trying to get the calls across that you just can't.
Yeah, we had a little bit of trouble play calling. I know we snapped the ball with less than 5 seconds on the play clock almost every play,
Yeah.
trying to get the play in, get everyone set. But
Have you seen this new stuff that they might do with college football with the
The-
helmet headsets?
yeah,
What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I don't really mind it now, because I feel a lot of the stuff that we do is because we don't have that. So they might have to cut some people in terms of
Yeah, it's
labor
true.
force, but
But
I
then
think it's a
again,
great
I feel
idea.
like you have to have somebody, because I don't know how it works exactly in the NFL. I know, like, the quarterback gets the call, but they huddle up every time in the NFL. I don't know if college football, they're notorious for not huddling and just looking to the sideline, getting the call, and then going back. I mean, yes, teams still huddle from time to time. Like, it's not a non-existent thing, but I'm just curious. Like, I feel like you almost still need somebody giving, at least the formation,
hmm
but giving the quarterback the call. It's going to be interesting how they take it and where they go with it. I mean, they're always creating new rules and all this new stuff, so we'll see where it goes. I don't know if it'll be a good or bad thing.
hmm
I think it's definitely an advancement in the game, but I mean, could you imagine giving a young guy, a freshman quarterback, a headset, and
Yeah.
he doesn't even know the calls half the time anyway, it
Right.
feels like. So, like, you're giving a freshman quarterback imagine a freshman quarterback coming in, never playing. It's the middle of the season. You're playing at Penn State,
Right.
and now you
yeah.
get a headset. And it's like, now I got to try and get everything across. So, I don't know. It could be good. It could be bad. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
if
it
they do
almost seems like they're trying to emulate like the professional level with the
Yeah.
2-minute warning as well,
I
headsets.
didn't even know they were talking about that.
That was part of the rules thing that came out today.
Oh, I haven't even seen that.
I think they're thinking about implementing that as well.
Huh. I don't know if that. I mean, I've never understood the 2-minute warning per se. Like, who was the first one that was like, we should have a stoppage at 2 minutes? Like,
an extra timeout.
Yeah, like I kind of like it though, especially at the end of a game. It could make things a little more interesting. But yeah, I mean that could be good. I'm not opposed to the 2-minute warning.
I don't mind it.
Oh my god. So what would you say so far this or in your time doing this has got to be your favorite memory of being around a team and doing everything that you do? What would you say is your favorite memory as in this role?
My favorite memory, I mean, I guess it has to be the Rose Bowl.
Really?
I really enjoyed that game. Being able to run around the field as soon as they made that stop was pretty cool. Seeing all the confetti, fireworks, all that stuff. It just seemed like a dream come true. Something that I never get to experience.
It's almost gotta feel not real.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be like just sit it like even if I didn't wasn't a player on the field, it'd be one of those that you're like you almost stop for a second. I feel like I'm like look around like wow, this just like I'm down here on the field with the guys that just made this happen, and I'm part of what made this happen. Right. So it's definitely a surreal experience, for sure.
Yeah, and it's cool. It's nice of them to give all the support staff rings as well. So we'll be getting those in June.
That'll be cool. It'll be the wrong color and stuff, but that's all right. Nah. Yeah. I mean, say what you want about everything that happened throughout Michigan's season this year. They were a good team. Yeah. There's no denying it, and I've gotten arguments about this with Ohio State fans, and it's like they win. You can't compete with winning. Like if you win, you win. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But kind of going off that, I'll go into it a little bit. What was it like the time with the whole? We won't dive into it super far, but like when the whole Stallion thing and the cheating allegations, what was it like in the locker room with the team? What was practice like? What kind of like? How did the team take it and everything? Like how did everything go?
Yeah, so we first found out about this. We were on the plane to Penn State when the news broke. So I had Wi-Fi on my phone, but I don't think everyone else had not everyone had the Wi-Fi. But yeah, once we landed, I think that's when Coach Harbaugh got the news. And the team seemed honestly a lot more focused. Like they wanted to. I know it seems like a little cliche, like they all tweeted like bet. Yeah. Like that was the whole thing. But I mean, they really took it to heart, I feel like, and that's what helped them to get that win over Penn State. But yeah, at practice, Coach Harbaugh was allowed to be at practice. Yeah. So he was able to help out there, but he also sort of pulled back and let Coach Moore do his thing to get prepared for Maryland and Ohio State. Mm-hmm. So yeah, overall team was really focused and they knew what they wanted.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely news that broke everything. Like it just the thing that drove me nuts about Ohio State fans is they had no freaking clue about any of this, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, this is why they won last year, this is why this, and I'm like, shut up, just stop. Like, I'm an Ohio State fan, but Ohio State fans drive me insane, like absolutely insane, because I'm like, we're so many people are too diehard and they have blinders on to what's really going on with the circumstances. And the fact of the matter is whether it's true, whether it's not, they still won. And the whole cheating thing that I go back to is the fact of, if it was, you may be able to know the call, whatever. I knew calls in college. You still have to execute. Right. Does it make it easier? Maybe the slightest, because you kind of know what's coming. But guess what? They also know what's coming too. So they know what they're doing. That's the thing as a defender, especially when you know what they're doing, it's a little easier. But they also know what they're doing, so it's not going to be easy per se. So I don't know. It drove me nuts. And whatever happens. It doesn't. I don't care. Yeah. Which now he's at the Chargers.
Chargers. Yeah.
Harbaugh's at the Chargers. What did the team take that as good, bad? Like there's always you have those coaches that leave, especially after you win a national championship. How did that kind of go about?
When that I haven't really been in since that happened. Haven't been able to see many of the players or anything, but The fact that we got Coach Moore into the head coaching
Yeah.
position is really good because, I mean, he knows the culture. He knows what needs to get done.
Yeah.
And so there isn't going to be much turmoil in terms of coaching changes,
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah, I mean that does help having him, a guy who you can tell is doing things for the team. Like it's for the team. He seems like a good coach, and I only watched him for one game, so I don't really know much about the guy other than that. But he seems like a guy that does things for the team, and being happy for his. Some people make fun of it, the way he handled the interview, but I can't say I wouldn't be the same way after beating Ohio State as just the interim head coach at the moment, and that's the biggest game of the year, arguably, for both teams. Especially at that point, that was the biggest game of the year, I'd say, and it's definitely a surreal experience as a coach to be able to go and be your arch rival in a game like Ohio State, Michigan. That does mean so much. That's a lot of. It's always funny when people don't know, aren't Ohio State or Michigan fans, and they're like, "You guys get crazy about this game," and it's like you just don't understand. There's a different vibe to this game. What was the vibe like for being around the locker room and everything for that Ohio State Michigan game?
Yeah, I mean, you could just tell the air was a little different that
Mm-hmm.
morning. It's just pure hatred between the two teams.
Yes.
Hatred, but respect.
Yes.
It's not like unhinged violence on them, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's different. That's for sure.
They both have one goal, and it's
Right.
to beat the other one, and they like to blow the other one out.
Mhm.
They don't want it to be close. Obviously you want to blow everybody out, but that game especially, I feel like I'd want to rack up 100 points or something. It's hard. It'd be hard to hold back on an arch rival like that.
Yep.
And I've heard people. Would you say that Ohio State Michigan is the greatest rivalry in all of sports?
I would think so. I know a lot of people try to make the case for Duke UNC basketball, like Navy Army football too. Some people make cases for soccer games. I'm not too
I don't know
in
soccer,
touch with
so-
soccer,
yeah.
so
Yeah,
but I would think so.
I'd say the only one that could probably, come close is North Carolina Duke, but I still have to go Ohio State Michigan over it but I do know that the North Carolina Duke, and with them being so close to each other, that definitely adds. But Ohio State Michigan, it's only one state away, so it's still super close for them as well.
Yeah, I know they camp out in tents to get good seats in
Yeah.
those games, which is crazy to me.
That's always I grew up also at North. My dad was born in North Carolina and stuff, so I kind of have I like North Carolina a little bit, and I really like North Carolina basketball, and that's always been one of my dreams. Is to go to a North Carolina Duke basketball game, and I want to go to it at
Mhm.
North Carolina, but I mean. Those tickets get pricey.
Tickets are
Same with
crazy.
Ohio State, Michigan. Those
Mhm.
tickets get pricey quick. Which I just went to an Ohio State women's basketball game, which they're number 2 in the country. Those tickets are $15. So it's you can
Yeah.
get one of the suites at an Ohio State game for $500 that fits 18 people. And I'm like, shit, I'm about to, if they're good again next year, me and some of my buddies, we're just going to pitch in money for a suite and sit in those. I mean, because they're good seats. They're not they're bad seats. So, but what's the scene like after beating Ohio State? Campus-wise, locker room-wise, and everything like that.
Yeah, it's just pure joy, pure celebration. I know we rushed the field. We rushed the field this year. It was home game. And then, everyone just goes out to the bars. The streets are packed with people. You can't drive a car in Ann Arbor
Mhm.
because it's every student's just packed everywhere. So yeah, it's great, and we get Sundays off, so that's nice.
That is nice. That was always the best thing, because if I had to go in on Monday or Sunday, don't know if I'd make it. Who would you say is your favorite player that you got to be around? One that you respect, and just being able to be around them is kind of an honor almost.
Yeah, this might sound a little just I don't know how to put it, but I mean JJ, of course.
Yeah.
He's the proverbial captain of the team. Everyone follows what he does because he leads by example. Super great guy. Like I said, my first day, a lot of players introduced themselves to me, and he was the first one to do it. He came up to me, shook my hand, and so I've always had a sort of respect for him, the way he carries himself, and hopefully succeeds at the next level.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for him.
I think he has a real good chance. I mean, obviously, I'm no expert, but I don't know. I mean, you can't. I don't even trust Ohio State quarterbacks when they go to the draft. So
Stroud's having a
Stroud's like
good
Stroud
year so
is
far.
the only quarterback in my lifetime I think I've seen go to the NFL and actually do well quickly, especially because like growing up, Troy Smith, like I thought he was going to be a stud, and he didn't really do anything. Haskins, rest in peace, didn't really do anything. Fields kind of getting screwed a little bit. I don't know. It's
Maybe he'll get himself into a better situation.
If he doesn't do good in another situation, though, it's Fields. So, but I don't know. It's definitely. I don't trust Ohio State quarterbacks. Now, Michigan quarterbacks, obviously the greatest of all time. It's hard to deny.
It's been 25 years since that happened, though. I mean, we have Henny. He did all right.
Yeah.
But other than that, JJ's the next up.
Yeah. It's gonna be. So you guys also lost a lot this year. Do you think that's gonna be? Do you foresee? I guess I don't want to put you on the spot with this, but like, how do you think it's gonna be affect the team with losing as much as you guys are losing, especially key factors like JJ, who, like you said, is like the the leader of the team.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a much younger team this year, objectively. Some of the guys are gonna need to step up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who the quarterback's going to be yet. I know we have Tuttle back, Denagle's back, Orgy. So we'll see how that shakes out. But people are going to have to step up and be leaders. Donovan Edwards is another great example of a leader.
Mm-hmm.
Very outspoken,
He drove me nuts because he was so good.
He was good in big games, that's for sure.
He was. He ran so hard.
Yeah.
That's what made it so difficult. And that, like, if I was a Michigan fan, especially, I'd be like, I freaking love that guy. And you can tell by the way he carries himself. Like, he is very humble, it sounds like.
He is very humble, loves God.
Yeah, that's a
very great.
Good combination there. Shut up, cat. But, so what was the, obviously you guys pretty much knew you were going to the college football playoffs. Did you guys have like a watch party for it and everything?
For the selection show?
Yeah, for the selection show.
Yeah, so how that usually goes is we'll play the Big Ten Championship in Indy the night before, sleep in the team hotel after the game, and then we'll have like the team breakfast, and we'll just be sitting in the ballroom or whatever, just waiting for that to go on.
First off, what is your guys' team breakfast like? Is it good?
It's good enough. Okay. It's just like a normal hotel breakfast. They have the eggs, bacon, sausage.
That's how ours was too. I just wanted to see if it was that much better. I mean, it had to be a little bit better than ours, but I mean, I only played D3, but
yeah.
So yeah,
it's nothing crazy.
Yeah, that's what people think. They also like they get these, but you get like, don't they like it? It's almost hired out. It's almost like the hotel caters it. Yeah. Is that the same for like dinner too?
Mm-hmm. Yep. But it's the same thing for each game usually, so it's like their hotel stuff.
Yeah, hotel staff, I swear they got us sick one time. There was one time we all ate dinner, and then I was up in the middle of the night in the bathroom. My roommates were in the bathroom, and then we're on the way to the bus, and they're giving everybody anti-diarrhea pills. And we were also wearing white jerseys that day. Needless to say, that game did not go well for us.
Yeah, I always thought about that with seeing like they had the stakeout, the seafood the night before the games.
If
I always
something
just wondered.
Goes bad, it's not fun. I can tell you that. Especially like when you're on the field. Like we had players that would come off. Like one of our linemen came off after offense, and like he told the coach like I gotta go, and so like he missed the whole series because he was going to the bathroom.
Not ideal.
We had to run all the way around the field because the locker room was on the opposite side of the field, so it was not fun. But so yeah, kind of going back, what the selection show and everything.
Yeah, so we were just eating breakfast, watched the selection show, and then pretty much once that was done, loaded on the bus, headed to the airport. I think they flew. The players flew to Indy, but we drove on a bus just because it was 3 hours, 3.5 hours. Wasn't too bad.
Yeah, Indy's not a bad drive. I'll be there in a couple weeks
for what?
Supercross race.
Oh, nice.
So that stadium too is just awesome. Lucas Oil. It's one of. I mean, obviously I can't compete with the Rose Bowl, but around, I'd say like locally, especially, is one of the best like stadiums. Just it's just a. I don't even know how to explain it. Like, it doesn't seem real when you walk in. Sometimes
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's a lot bigger than you think it is.
Because
on
everybody,
TV.
like, it looks from the outside, it doesn't even look that big. But when you get in there, it's just like, it's like it opens up all of a sudden. So,
Yeah.
So you you drew Alabama first.
Yep.
That game was also nuts. Which
Yeah.
game was the most nuts of the year?
It's got to be between Ohio State and Alabama, but I just think Alabama takes it because of the fact it was the Rose Bowl
Yeah, Rose Bowl, chance to go play in the national championship.
for the first time.
Yeah, so that I remember watching the end of that game. And now Ohio State has their center.
Yeah, I was stressing out
Oh, I
for
would
a lot
be
of that
too.
game. Like my job for last year was to hold like the boards with the pictures on them. I was
Mhm.
one of those guys, so I was sort of going up and down the sideline with the offense, and I was shaking for the last couple drives.
Make sure is it the right board. You ever held the wrong board?
I don't think I've held the wrong board in a game, but there's been a couple times where it's taken a little bit to get it up. Like it's a little late. Yep.
Because how many is there? I mean, how many do you have to scroll through?
I know. So there's 3 of us. One of my buddies holds 40.
Oh,
I
Lord.
have 36, I think, and they're not light boards either. It's a shoulder and back workout for sure when you're running up and down the sideline.
Man, you need to get in with Reno a little bit more.
Yeah,
Get some
he
work.
helped out with that, that's for sure. And so yeah, those first few games like East Carolina, UNLV was a lot worse because we got a lot more chunk plays, having
Yeah.
to run up and down with those boards a lot more.
Damn, 30? That's a lot.
Yep.
I mean, hell, we had like 3 in college. Everything for us was hand signals. But, what was I going to say? I completely lost my train of thought there. Completely
I don't
lost
know.
my train of thought. I don't know. But, so, Alabama and then go to the national championship. Now, where was the national championship at? I can't remember.
That was Houston.
Houston.
NRG, I think.
And played in the national championship. Got to be a part of a national championship football team.
Yeah.
What is that? Like, how does that make you feel? Like, to be able to say, I was like a part of that.
It still feels pretty surreal to be able to know I can look back in how many ever years and say I was part of that team. Especially like because people looking back now at our '97 team that won. I guess they sort of split it, but it's cool to be able to say that I was part of that and to be
Yeah.
able to tell my kids and
Yeah.
show them all the fun stuff I got to do.
Yeah, that's definitely, I mean, you got to experience something, like, I mean, just even not as a player, just to be able to experience that between the coaching stuff that happened, the Rose Bowl, the Big Ten Championship, Ohio State, Michigan, the National Championship. That's a season that will be talked about on ESPN and all that stuff for like history. It'll be talked about for a long, long time. And to be able to say you're a part of that, it's got to be one of the coolest things. And it almost like probably can't feel real at times.
Yeah, it is really cool. So
But, so what do you feel about this new Big Ten? Because now that we have, it's not just the Big Ten, and they split what they do. They quit the divisions. There's no divisions anymore. Is that right?
I think that's right. Yep.
And then now we have Oregon, UCLA, Washington,
Texas,
Texas,
USC.
I
So
forgot.
those
Yeah.
4.
It's no longer the Big 10. It's the Big 30.
I don't even know
or
how many
however-
ever there are.
That's what's
But-
crazy about it. What do you feel about it? Like, do you think it's going to add to the conference, or is it going to make the conference? Obviously, it's going to make it a little more difficult.
It's going to be a lot more competitive, I think, with all those bigger teams that are historically a lot better. Texas, I know we play Texas and Washington next year. I'm excited for those games. But along with that is a 12-team playoff.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that'll do for the game, in my opinion, considering it.
Yeah.
If they're both undefeated going in, and it takes a little less away from that game.
Yeah, and then, like, they may turn around and play each other again. Well, and,
In
yeah,
the
because
Big
they could
Ten,
play
they
in the Big
will.
Ten. So they could end up potentially playing each other 3 times a year,
Yeah.
which a lot of stuff would have to happen the right way for it to happen 3 times a year. But 2, I think, is more of a likely option than 3. But I mean, heck, that's what's weird to me is like if you play a team and then have to turn around the next week and play the same, because
It's hard to beat a team twice.
Yeah, it is hard to beat a team twice, no matter who. Like it's very difficult to, especially you see it in other conferences that do have to play each other, in their conference championship that they already played during the regular season. But it is very difficult to beat a team twice. I don't know how. I get why they did it. I don't know how I feel about it, because it's going to add a wrinkle into things.
Yeah.
But adding Oregon and these other teams also, like, it could open it up, because it's going to be interesting to see, because Oregon's been fairly good. Washington obviously has been good. I don't know how they'll be this year. We'll see. And then Texas, Texas is always back apparently, but
They'll be good next year.
They will.
They got viewers back.
Yeah. And they still got Arch Manning sitting on the bench making more money than I'll ever make in my life. That's what's crazy to me with the NIL. How do you feel about the NIL? You think obviously I think it's a good thing. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing the players are able to do things for themselves and not be just under control of the NCAA.
Hey, I'm just
all
happy
the
they're
time.
bringing the game back.
Yeah, but with the transfer portal, it can get a little weird at times. So
Yeah.
you got to be careful with that.
The transfer portal, I don't want to say it's ruined the game, because I don't think it's ruined it, but it's made it, it almost makes it more like professional football. Like you don't
It's like
me?
free
Trading.
agency
Yeah,
almost.
that's essentially what it is. But everybody's always a free agent whenever. I mean, they're always a free agent. So that's what's weird. I don't know how I feel about it. It's just, it's different. I mean, but I think, like with NIL and with the transfer portal, they almost need to maybe put a limit on it to where, like, you can only transfer up to X amount of times or that kind of stuff, which could be good and bad at the same time. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Because I've never had a problem, like, because what a lot of players started doing was, their 5th year they went to a different school and that kind of stuff. So, like, I don't feel like there's any issue with that, but it's interesting to see you'll watch players bounce around. They may be at 4 schools in 4 years. It's possible. And anymore today, you can apparently play like 8-9 years in college football.
Yeah, I think it's a little too early to tell with it about the transfer portal stuff. So we'll just see how it goes from there. But
It's worked out well for Ohio State this year.
They've done a great job in the off season.
Every time something else came out, I'm like, no way. And I'm like, oh, he actually did sign with Ohio State. Because I'm like, it just kept coming. I'm like, this is nuts. Like, I couldn't believe, especially the Alabama safety. And, I mean, I could see Will Howard. I could see, I never knew of him really until, I mean, I knew of him a little bit, but I didn't really pay attention to him until he signed with Ohio State. So that's.
Do you think that's the guy, or?
That quarterback room's deep. I mean, I don't know. So, I was a McCord fan.
I was too.
I golfed with him this summer. That might have been part of the reason. I was around him a little bit, and he's just he's a very genuine guy and super, like, he didn't treat me any different and didn't treat the people I was with. Like, he just acted like a normal dude. Right. He was actually at the Walk-Ins football golf outing.
Yeah, Reno told me about that.
We were golfing with him. Oh, Reno texted me and was like, keep this hush hush. I'm like, dude, like, he might be the starting quarterback. But yeah, so I don't know. And Ohio State fans are so quick to just tear everybody down. I don't know if Will Howard's the guy. I don't ever watch. I don't get to see practice. I don't get to see. That's where some people, like, during the year will, like, they need to put Devin Brown in. They need to bench McCord. And it's like, you guys don't know what goes on at practice. Like, you can see at practice the difference in players. Maybe Devin Brown should have been. We don't know, because you see a lot of things come. And I'm sure it's the same. Like, you guys are getting top talent. Every D1, especially at this, that stage, that high level D1, you're getting top talent at Michigan. I'm sure you see it there, where there's players that have all the talent in the world, but they don't work hard whatsoever.
Right.
And that's why they don't play.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I'll see these outlandish things that people post on Twitter or whatever, and they're not even unpopular opinions within like social media, but you see what goes on at practice, and it's sort of a different story sometimes.
It's gotta be hard sometimes not to be like, this is not how it is.
Yeah.
Shut your mouth. I know you're an
Definitely.
ESPN analyst, but you have no idea.
Right.
Man, I feel like it'd be so easy to be an analyst for ESPN. You just guess.
Yeah, you just say whatever you want.
Yeah, they get away with everything. But yeah, it's definitely. I don't know if Will hires the guy. We'll see how it goes.
Aaron Nolan too, right? Is he coming
Aaron
this year?
Nolan, yeah, he'll be there. They just got that other Julian Sand, whatever.
They
the
got him,
Alabama.
too?
Yeah, he's the Alabama guy. They have him. They have Brown. They have whoever Brown's backup. I forget his name. We have like 6 quarterbacks that are all talked about. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. And then the running back room's deep. The wide receiver room,
All right, always deep.
yeah. I mean,
You'll always have someone.
yeah. How worried were you about Marvin Harrison Jr.? I mean,
That dude's a freak, man.
he's nuts. Like every game, I feel like he made a catch that you're just like, how?
Yep.
How did that even happen?
Right. And it's like when you look at the box score, like against us, he didn't play particularly well, but then you looked at the game and he was making catches, getting tackled, and like one hand and all that, and you just don't know how he does it.
My thing about him is like his sideline catches where he's like completely up in the air and like completely like flat backwards and just like taps his toe inbounds, and I'm like, my ass would just be like, hold on to the ball. So he's definitely a freak. Who would you say is like that guy at Michigan that you're like, that dude's just different, like athletically, just different? Or did I say Ohio State? I'm at Michigan.
Oh, for Michigan, yeah. That's tough. A lot of the guys on defense are freaks. Like Mason Graham, insanely good. Him and KG are gonna be back next year, so that interior D line is gonna be
That's
insanely good.
It's always a good thing when you have your starters coming back.
Yeah.
Which, don't get me wrong, you go to the NFL, I kind of get it. But anymore today too with NIL, some of them are making more than they would their rookie year. So
Right.
I mean, if you're a late draft pick, it's almost worth staying another year to try and get a little better and then go to the NFL.
Yeah, make some money while you're at it.
Yeah, I mean, but I have heard that the whole thing, I don't know if you saw with like Marvin Harrison Jr. and how much money he was offered to stay another year. Like they were trying to get him to come back another year in like NIL. There was like an NIL deal that was worth like $10 million to come back and play another year at Ohio State. And I've got not an inside source, but a source that knows the inside source, and he was like, "That's all bullcrap. Like that didn't really happen.
Okay.
Like there was deals thrown out there, but it wasn't 10 million and all that."
Mhm.
And that's the thing. Social media starts to blow things up out of proportion, and I was a little questionable though, because like he didn't announce for the longest time that he was going to the draft, and I was like, it's starting to get a little late. Like,
Right.
you got players that you didn't think were going to the draft that have already announced. Like, why isn't he?
Yeah. It was the same thing with Stroud last year. I think Stroud was pretty late in announcing. People thought he was going to come back as well.
Yeah, they really did, which,
Would have been good for them.
God, that could have made Ohio State. That made it pushed Ohio State to a national champion. Like, helped. It would have definitely helped. It wouldn't have hurt us
Right.
to have Stroud. But, I mean, Stroud, I'd say, made the right decision because he's doing big things.
Yeah.
But,
Doing well.
yeah, that would have been nuts to have him back. But, I don't know. What would you say would be, like, the scariest position if you had to go out? If you were thrown out on the field, like, which position would you want to do and which would you really not want to do?
I would not want to be anywhere in the interior
Oh,
just because those
absolutely
guys are absolute freaks. I feel like being a corner, it would be humiliating, but it wouldn't hurt. You'd just
Yeah.
be left in the dust. But I mean, I feel like I would rather be a quarterback.
I was gonna say,
out
I knew
of
you were gonna pick
everything else.
quarterback. You at least have a knowledge of quarterback, so
Yeah.
like it would be a little easier for you. I feel like anywhere on the defensive side of the ball, I'm getting lost. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
I wouldn't want to play defense.
like especially I learned in college like in high school, you knew walk-ins. Like our defense was basic.
Mm-hmm.
Like it may have changed a little bit for you because you got to play under the new coaches, didn't you?
Yep.
So you may have changed a little bit for you with them, but I know for us, like Coach Warrington, base black. And then we'd blitz every once in a while, but like it was base black all the time. I got to college and like day one of Instill, I'm like, oh, this isn't that bad. Day two, I'm like, what the hell is going on? And we got 15 more days, so I'm like, this is nuts. But yeah, I don't know. I'd probably if I had to pick one to go out and play, I may play. I don't think I'd play safety, not at the D1 level. I wouldn't want to go out there and play safety because I'd be way too slow. I was way too slow to play safety in general. I may give me like a receiver.
Play a little slot receiver.
Just so that way, like, I'm covered. Don't throw me the ball. I definitely would not want to play.
Yeah, receiver wouldn't be too bad.
Don't put me on the D.
You wouldn't be in there very long, but
No, definitely not. Surprisingly, they put me at corner when I was in college for a year. I started at corner for 10 games. And
it's a hard position. It's the toughest one in football.
Well, we used to run a lot of man until that year. Then we ran a lot of zone. I was too slow. Like, I can't keep up with these guys. I mean, even at the D3 level, Wittenberg, they get transfers from D1 schools. Wabash gets transfers from D1 schools. Like, Wittenberg, one of the receivers played at Kentucky. He actually, like, played in a few games and got kicked out of Kentucky or something. Went D3 and played against him. Like, he was fast. I'd be at safety, and he'd outrun me. So, like, what am I supposed to do at corner?
Yeah.
Like, I can't guard him. But kind of going back to, I wanted to kind of talk about a little more about, Harbaugh and being around the coaching staff. Like, was it serious 100% of the time that you guys were around them, or did you ever get to see, like, kind of the other side of them of not serious, completely serious?
Yeah, you got to see both sides usually. I mean, obviously depends on the week, time of the week, what game's coming up, stuff like that. But I know Coach Harbaugh liked to call himself Cool Jim sometimes because he was pretty chill at some points. But yeah, a lot of the coaches like to have fun. Like Coach Moore is always having fun on the sidelines. He's like dancing around in between plays, like just doing his thing, having fun. And I think that's a big part of what made us successful. Like we were out there having fun, doing our thing. So.
Did you guys have music at practice?
Yes. We had music a lot of times for the away games. I know, like, it went out that Coach Prime was doing this, but most teams do it. They'll bring out really big speakers and pump, like, super loud music and crowd noise into the practice.
Yeah.
For Penn State, that was brutal because the speakers were right in my ear, and I couldn't hear anything.
Oh, man. So, yeah, we had music playing during practice, but those privileges can get revoked real quick. We started screwing around. What's that feeling like of when, have they ever gotten, like, where there's a point in practice where they're like, everybody just get on the line? Like, you ever had that point in practice?
He won't make everyone, like, they won't start doing, like, conditioning or anything, but, like, if people aren't focused and a lot of the plays are getting screwed up, he'll bring everyone in and give them a little talk.
Chat with them.
Yeah, a little bit.
I was gonna say see, that's the thing too, is like people are probably like, and then he can just kind of sit back. No, like you still have to take your job serious because your job is important. It's not like you're just like a guy that's just on the field like hanging out. Like you actually have stuff that you're doing.
Right. If we don't do our job, then the play's wrong, and then Coach Harbaugh's yelling at Coach Moore for giving the wrong play, when in reality it was like our fault.
Just that chain of command starts to go down.
Yeah.
That'd be a little nerve-wracking, especially during the game in a big situation like you talked about during that Alabama game. It's like, I have to.
I really hope I don't have a board to do.
Yeah, like, give me something easy this time. I don't want the pressure on me.
Yeah.
But, so you're going back for another year. It'll be your fifth year? Or fourth? Or you're a senior this year?
I'm a senior this year. I started my sophomore year in spring, so technically next year's my third season.
Okay.
So I haven't been here too long, but.
What are you going into school for?
I'm going to do the Master in Management through Ross. That's like business. So
okay. Good for you.
Just an extra year of
Well, it's worth
schooling.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's worth it, especially it's Scott went back for his. I feel like he played like 12 years. He always got called grandpa, which he deserved. But he got his master's in a year, so like it's kind of a year and a half or something. So it's kind of worth it. It's kind of worth being, and you get to experience that again and be a part of that again. And let's be real here, it's a giant resume booster to be able to put that on your resume. Like to be able to say like I was a part of the national championship team, like that helps.
I still need to update my resume. With that,
I don't know if I ever really had one. I did apply to jobs. I just still worked the blue collar job that I got throughout college. Well, it's one of those that I look at it as a company that I can grow with because I started with him when he was fairly small, and now it's growing even more. So getting to experience all that, and it's everybody goes their own path, and that's just how it is. I mean, heck, we both went to people that we look at now that didn't even go to college or did go to college, and now they're working fast food restaurants.
Right.
So, I mean, nothing against them, but everybody has their own path.
That's right.
You talked a little bit about the size of, some of these players. Yeah. Who was somebody that you were by that was like, you're just really big, like you're a monster?
Yeah. Kenneth Grant is one of the biggest guys I've ever seen. He's a monster too. And it's like that from when I first got there. Most of the players I looked at like that. Yeah. But as time went on, I sort of was able to familiarize myself with the players and my surroundings. So there's only a select few that I'm still just baffled by the size of.
Yeah. Is there anybody like? Did you know most of the players going in, or was it? I mean, obviously you didn't know like all of them because nobody ever knows like the lower end guys, but was it you knew a lot of them when you went in there, or was it kind of like a learning experience like, all right, I know who you are, but I have no idea who you are?
Yeah, going in I knew a lot of the starters, of course, like most fans do, but it was cool to get to know some of the bench guys, the guys coming off the bench, and even the scout team players, and they're all equally like nice. They're all nice dudes. They all treat you the same, so being able to get all their names and to learn more about them is pretty cool. To just have them as a friend rather than just seeing them on TV as players. You get to know them, and because they're not just players, they have families. Yeah, they have career aspirations too. So,
do you ever look at yourself on TV?
I always turn my phone after the game and have like a million texts of pictures of TVs.
People looking at you on the TV. I mean, I do this exact same thing. I guarantee it. I don't know why I never really paid attention. I get a tunnel vision on the game usually, but like I never really thought to even look when you guys were playing Ohio State. But
my friend, who's also a manager, before the Penn State game, they had a graphic. It was a graphic of JJ and Drew Aller, except my friend looks very close to Drew Aller, so it was actually just him. It was him and JJ on this quarterback graphic pregame.
That's funny. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on. Is there anything else you want to add, like about your experience, about your time there, and anything else you'd like to add?
I don't think so. I think we touched a lot about it. It was a really rewarding experience, and I appreciate you for having me on.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on. If you win another championship, you might have to come on again.
Yeah,
hopefully
see you next year.
No offense. We'll see. Well, it's going to be an interesting year with all the new changes and everything. So it'll be a good year. I'm excited.
It'll take some getting used to, that's for sure.
Yeah, it is definitely going to be interesting. Being able to play Texas and that because who'd you guys say you're playing next year that's new?
I think we play at Washington and we play at home for Texas. Okay. I don't know if you at Texas USC or UCLA.
We have Oregon. And I forget somebody else. I don't know. But it's gonna be a fun year, and I don't know. Texas, I feel like would be a stadium that I'd definitely like. What was your favorite state? Obviously, other than the Rose Bowl and other than Big House, like would be like the other stadium that you were like, this is awesome?
Penn State, definitely, just because of the atmosphere.
Was it a whiteout too?
It was their stripe out, so it's like I think they used their whiteout on someone else, but overall,
they always seem to use it against Ohio State. I can tell you that. When it gets so loud that you can barely hear the announcers on TV, that's when it's like, that's different. Like, that's just a different atmosphere. I don't know. That'd be... All those stadiums would definitely... I would never want to play in the big house, like, as an opponent. I wouldn't want to play in the shoe as an opponent.
Mhm.
Penn State. I feel like... The funny thing is Reno said, like, one of the toughest stadiums I think he played in was, like, LSU.
Really?
It was one of the
He
SEC
played at LSU.
Huh?
He played at LSU.
Yeah, he played Alabama, LSU, Ohio State. He played all kinds of people. He said he hates Ohio State though. I don't know if you've ever heard the stories about Reno and Ohio State.
I think he told me about some of them.
Oh, he's talked about it on the podcast. Like I brought it up because I'm like, all right, I gotta know, why do you hate Ohio State? It's essentially, he's like, the fans, garbage, the food, terrible. I'm like, you live here. He was like, the hotel staff, absolutely terrible. He's like, we had people flicking us off and people were pushing the bus, and I'm like, oh my god, okay, Reno, whatever. But he hates Ohio State with a passion. We made a bet during the Ohio State Michigan game and I lost. So
How much you bet?
I think it was only like $10. I was just like, he commented on like a post that or my story or something, and I was like, $10, or put your money or mouth where your or money where your mouth is, and $10, and he's like, deal, and then we lost. I was like, shit. But Robby, I appreciate you coming on, man. Definitely be watching you and following your story, because it's definitely an experience that not a lot of people get to go through. So I appreciate you coming on the podcast, man.
Thanks for having me, Cole. Appreciate it.
But you guys know the deal. I don't have any announcements for today. I'll save the announcements for a later episode. But until next time, you guys know the deal. Life is hard, and it's going to knock you down just like a bull does to a bull rider. Don't let that bull of life walk all over you. Get up, grab a bull by the horns, and take control of your life. Roughnecks, out.